Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. We'll start with the headlines. The Public Authority for Consumer Protection wins the Entrepreneurship Union Award. The UN Council is to vote on rival resolutions on Syria's Aleppo truce. And the United Nations agencies announce cholera outbreaks in Yemen. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in details. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda on his country's independence anniversary. The Sultanate participates in the second Asian Cooperation Dialogue Summit, which is proposed to be held in Thailand. The summit includes a forum for businessmen that focuses on financial linkage and innovation among Asian countries. The forum also will discuss aspects of deepening investments and business activities in the future economic sectors to achieve sustainable development. And so the Sultanate's delegation was led by His Excellency Mohammed bin Zubair, advisor of His Majesty the Sultan for Economic Planning. The Public Authority for Consumer Protection achieved the International Entrepreneurship Union Award. This came in a ceremony held in Morocco. The authority was awarded the prize by the international arbitrators for its excellence in services rendered to beneficiaries. It applies entrepreneurship standards for leadership, quality of commodities and services, system management, innovation, institutional social responsibility, and achievements. These standards were the pillars for granting this award. The UN Security Council will vote on two rival resolutions on Syria today. One drafted by France calling for an end to air raids on Aleppo, and a second by Russia that makes no mention of a halt to the bombings. Russia is expected to use its veto to block the French drafted measure backed by the United States and Britain that also provides for a halt to all military flights over Aleppo. The Council will then move to a second vote on the Russian drafted text that calls for a ceasefire, but makes no specific mention of stopping the aerial bombardment of Aleppo. Council members have been holding negotiations for the past week on the French proposal for an end to the bombing of Aleppo, access for aid deliveries, and a ban on military flights over the city.
I think a historic scene. I don't know if it has ever been done this way.
War-torn Yemen is suffering from a cholera outbreak. The UN's Children Agency and the World Health Organization said posing a further threat to infants in the impoverished nation. The WHO, citing Yemen's health ministry figures, said that 8 cholera cases, mostly involving children, had been recorded in one neighborhood of the rebel capital Sana'a. They were being treated for extreme dehydration in an isolated section of the capital's Al Sabain hospital. The WHO said the scarcity of drinkable water has worsened the hygiene situation in Yemen, fueling a marked increase in cases of severe diarrhea, in particular among people displaced from their homes in the center of the country. The UNICEF said health professionals in Sana'a had reported several cases, as had medics in Taiz, Yemen's third largest city. The moderate Islamist Party of Justice and Development, PJD, has won Morocco's national elections according to official results, despite frustration with its handling of the economy in its 5 years leading the government and a challenge from a party close to the royal palace. The Interior Ministry said today that the PJD won 125 of the 395 seats in the Chamber of Representatives. The Party of Authenticity and Modernity, founded by an advisor to the king, won 102 seats in total. No party won a majority, so the PJD will likely need to create a coalition government. The party won elections in 2011, riding a wave of Arab Spring protests demanding political reform. Hurricane Matthew killed almost 900 people and displaced tens of thousands in Haiti before plowing northward today just off the southeast U.S. coast, where it caused major flooding and widespread power outages. The number of deaths in Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, jumped to at least 877 yesterday, as information trickled in from remote areas previously cut off by the storm. Some 61,500 people were in shelters, and officials said after the storm hurled the sea into fragile coastal villages, some of which were only now being contacted. At these three towns in the hills and coast of Haiti's fertile western tip reported dozens of people killed, including the farming village of Chantal, where the mayor said 86 people died, mostly when trees crushed houses. Mount Aso, a volcano on Japan's main southern island of Kyushu, erupted early today. Japan's meteorological agency said, spewing volcanic ash 11,000 meters into the sky and over much across the cities living under the shadow of the mountain. Residents were busy cleaning up after the eruption that took many by surprise very early in the morning. Police and municipal government said there were no reports of injuries from the eruption. On one of the peaks of the 1,592-meter mountain in Kumamoto Prefecture, rocks rained down on locals as far as 4 kilometers away. Authorities are warning people not to approach the mountain and warning of falling rocks. It also warned of falling ash in 10 prefectures, with further possibility of eruptions in the future. And still to come in our news bulletin. Motor racing in Australia has traditionally been a male-dominated sport, but soon it will not be the case. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The main committee for postgraduate national program management reviewed a number of topics during its second meeting of the year. It discussed the report of sorting out committees for the first batch of postgraduate national program. It also dealt with the issue of the French language learning program for candidates of Oman Medical Specialty Board for the scholarship of the postgraduate national program for 2016. The committee also discussed ways to deal with renowned universities which were not listed in Shanghai ranking, and ways to deal with offered specializations which contradict with announced ones. A mechanism was set up to deal with these cases in the future. The meeting was chaired by Her Excellency Rawiya bin Saud al-Busaidiyya, Minister of Higher Education. Muscat securities market had witnessed an active trading movement during the last 9 months. The value of trading amounted to more than 38 million Omani Riyals till last September. Meanwhile, Muscat securities market was affected by the decline of all main sectors, as the main index closed this week with a decrease of 116 points after investors traded shares worth more than 13.8 million Riyals. When Swiss ace Simona Del Silvestro and co-driver Australian Renee Gracie competed in the Bathurst 1000, the great race last year, as a rare all-female duo, a male competitor challenged gender stereotypes. Here's a report.
Motor racing in Australia has traditionally been a male-dominated sport, none more so than the V8 supercars. Next year, however, Swiss ace Simona De Silvestro will become the event's first full-time female driver in more than 4 decades. This year she is competing in one event, the Bathurst 1000, dubbed the Great Race and widely regarded as the pinnacle of Australian motorsport.
I have a lot to learn, a lot to work on, but I think if I grow like I've grown, in my career all the time, I think I can be pretty successful here as well too.
Renee Gracie, her 21-year-old teammate, says times are changing and it's likely more women will become involved as attitudes change.
I've never had advice from a female before, obviously, because there just are none. So for the first time ever, I've actually got someone to look up to and to ask for experience, and I guess instill a little bit of confidence in myself as well. So yeah, for the first time ever, I've actually got someone to look up to. So it's great for me, and I'm sure other women in motorsport will feel the same.
Other racers believe the novelty of an all-woman racing team is lessening as they garner more respect.
Simona is a top-class quality driver. She's driven in the best categories of motor racing in the world. And, for her to be in V8 supercars, she deserves the right to be there. And it just proves that women and girls can do anything.
The race weekend in Bathurst is one of the biggest in the Australian calendar. However, some criticise the inclusion of the all-female team, suggesting it's a gimmick to generate more media attention.
I don't agree with how V8 supercars are throwing the money, supporting her. But there's a lot of young talent in Australia that they could jump behind also.
Back at the track, up-and-coming 20-year-old Chelsea Angelo is lapping up the media attention. She has posted some of the fastest times this year in the Dunlop Racing Series and is proof that women are making serious inroads.
I think it's just the adrenaline, like the amount of speed and the high kilometres that we do. It's just absolutely incredible, and it's so unique, this motorsport.
With Supercars chief James Warburton aiming to have at least 3 female drivers on the starting grid by 2025, this industry, long dominated by men, looks set to be freshened up by a new generation of women speedsters.
And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Partly cloudy skies will prevail over most of the governorates, with chances of scattered rain on Dhofar, Wusta and coasts overlooking the Sea of Oman. Cloud accumulation and scattered rains are expected over the Hajar Mountains. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate over the coast of the Sea of Oman, while along the coast of the Arabian Sea, it will be southwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be moderate along the coast of the Arabian Sea with a maximum wave height of 2 meters, and the rest of the coast it will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1 meter. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Public Authority for Consumer Protection wins Entrepreneurship Union Award. The UN Council is to vote on rival resolutions on Syria's Aleppo truce. The United Nations agencies announced cholera outbreaks in Yemen. With that, we come to an end to tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, good night.